2024 is the year for the return of the X-Men. Deadpool and Wolverine drops in July and the animated show returns with X-Men 97, which is just absolutely phenomenal.
Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go.
I haven't watched the original show, but I feel like you don't need to, and I will at some point. But for now, let's just talk about X-Men 97 and whether it was worth it. It's worth noting I'm not really that big of an X-Men fan. The films were never really impressive to me, except for like 4, and that'd be Logan, both Deadpools, and Days of Future Past. This show does way more interesting things with the characters than the original films ever did. So first off, the theme for the show absolutely slaps. This intro is up there with Spectacular Spider-Man for Marvel shows, and the showcase of character introductions is perfect, and I am yet to skip it because it is just that perfect. The show picks up at the end of the animated series with Charles' death and the aftermath of that, and that leads to interesting character dynamics. Scott and Jean are having their baby Nathan, who grows up to be Cable, and they want to leave the X-Men so they can have a normal life. But they soon learn a few things. A, Charles left everything for Magneto and they don't want to leave while he's in charge. B, Jean is actually a clone made by Mr. Sinister, who then becomes Madeline and the real Jean returns. C, if they left, they would have come back anyway because mutants wouldn't be able to live a normal life when humans hate them. And watching Scott conflict with the fact that the mother of his child isn't the real woman he loves, and yet he still loves her because she is the woman he loves, which, while also loving the real Jean, is so interesting to watch and way more interesting than anything they gave him to do in the movies. And it actually made me like Scott, because the movies definitely don't do that. He also gets one of the best jokes in the show.
Am I going to war or a circus?
What'd you expect? Black leather?
Calling back the first X-Men film.
You actually go outside in these things?
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
While Charles is gone, him and Jean fill the leadership role well, and I kinda love the characters now. You know who else I love? Wolverine, as always. Hugh Jackman returns to the role this summer, and he has been the reason I've always loved Wolverine. But he's really tall, so when I watched the show, I was like, oh shit, I forgot Logan is actually supposed to be really short. I love that they leave him with the heavily pregnant Jean, and he is all ready to fight Apocalypse, because he thinks that's what Jean meant when she said he's here, but is absolutely petrified when he realizes the baby is here. Oh, and that episode 9 ending, holy shit, talk about whiplash for Wolverine. Okay, who's next? Oh, I know, Magneto. He is way more fleshed out in the show than the movies ever did for him. Yeah, shocker, I know, it seems to be a pattern here, but he genuinely wants to fix the relationship between humans and mutants, but humans always retaliate against him, and that was never really shown in the movies, and I think it's way more interesting for his character. And that's when he breaks in the show because he doesn't want to see any more mutants die just because they're different. It makes his motivations more clear-cut and more clear than the films ever did. But I'll rewatch them soon, so we'll see if I'm remembering them wrong. The choice to bring Charles back is an interesting one, and I'd say it works fairly well. It's explained decently, and let's be honest, there's no X-Men without wheels.
Sabretooth. Storm. What do they call you? Wheels?
Sorry, Xavier. I mean, they are named after him.
What do you say, Sheldon? Are we your X-Men?
No, the X-Men were named for the X in Charles Xavier. Since I am Sheldon Cooper, you will be my C-Men.
Oh, that's not a good name.
Realizing he never should have left and give Scott and Jean a chance at a perfect life is great, which is the same for the whole show. So much love and care is put into it. It's really, really good, and I recommend it. Storm's story about refinding herself is particularly beautiful, and for 2D animation, the show looks fantastic. It's an animation style that's mostly been lost, but I'm glad X-Men stuck to it, and I hope a 90s Spider-Man show is to follow after his brief cameo. However, I am far from an X-Men expert, and so I call upon the X-Men expert I know to give her thoughts on the show, and so this is where I leave you. 97 gets an 8 out of 10. Over to her.